stare at her through my lenses, my heart performing a frantic, irregular rhythm against my ribs. You have been studied by 3 different clinics before arriving here, Mina, I say, my voice sounding hollow in the sterile room. You are a world-class mimic, a parasite of identity. You study your subjects, you steal their mannerisms, and you use their trauma to destabilize the power dynamic. It is a fascinating defense mechanism, but it ends today. In this institute, I am the observer. You are the specimen. Mina leans forward, mimicking my movement with terrifying synchronicity. We are 2 mirrors facing each other, creating an infinite corridor of the same face. She smiles, and it is a jagged, broken thing. A smile I haven't allowed myself to use since I was 21. Is that what you tell yourself when you look in the mirror, Helena? That you are the observer? You've spent 44 years building a cage out of textbooks and white coats, trying to pretend the girl in the cellar never existed. But nature abhors a vacuum. And memories are like water. They find the cracks, they freeze, and eventually, they shatter the stone. She reaches into the pocket of her dress, my dress, and pulls out a small, withered object. She places it on the mahogany table between us. It is a pressed violet, brittle and brown with age. My breath hitches. I had a herbarium when I was 10. I had a secret collection of mountain flowers that I kept hidden under the floorboards of my bedroom because Father believed beauty was a distraction from duty. I haven't thought about those flowers in decades. I haven't seen that specific violet since the night of the fire. Where did you get that? I whisper, the professional mask slipping just enough for the cold air of the room to bite at my skin. I didn't get it, Helena, Mina says, her amber eyes glowing with a predatory, ancient intelligence. I kept it, just like I kept the scream you let out when you realized the smoke was coming from the vents, just like I kept the guilt you tucked away in the back of your closet along with your dolls. I am not your mimic. I am your remainder. I am the 21-year-old version of you that you murdered so you could become this monument of ice. I stand up so abruptly. My chair screeches against the floorboards like a dying bird. This session is over. I will be prescribing a heavy sedative and a transfer to the isolation ward. You are a danger to the stability of this facility. Mina doesn't move. She just watches me with those hauntingly familiar eyes, a dark reflection of my own repressed soul. You can lock the door, Doctor. You can turn the key just like he did. No, you forget one thing about mirrors. If you break them, you don't get rid of the image. You just get 1,000 tiny pieces of it, all looking back at you at once. The storm is coming, Helena, and I'm already inside. I bolt from the room, the heavy iron door clanging shut behind me, but the sound doesn't drown out her laughter. It follows me down the dim, gas-lit corridors of the Edelweiss Institute. It echoes off the portraits of the founders. It whispers through the vents. As I retreat to my office, I catch a glimpse of my reflection in the glass of a medicine cabinet. For a split second, the woman in the glass isn't wearing a bun. Her hair is wild, her eyes are wide with terror, and she is screaming soundlessly for help. I blink, and the image is gone. I am Dr. Helena Vance. I am 44 years old. I am in control, but as I sit at my desk, my eyes fall upon my personal journal. It is open to the last page, in a handwriting that is unmistakably my own, but from a hand that hasn't written in years, are 3 words: let me out. The shadows in the corners of the room seem to stretch, reaching for me like long, dark fingers. The blizzard outside begins to roar, rattling the window panes in their frames. The isolation has begun, and as the first lights of the Institute flicker and die, I realize that the patient in room 4 isn't trapped with me. I am trapped with her, and the mirror is starting to crack. Night falls over the Edelweiss Institute, not as a transition of light, but as a heavy, velvet shroud. The blizzard has intensified, burying the lower floor windows in drifts of crystalline white, effectively sealing us within these stone walls. The mountain has claimed us. Inside, the gas lamps hiss and flicker, casting long, distorted shadows that dance across the portraits of long-dead psychiatrists. I am sitting in my office, the oak door double-locked, a silver letter opener clutched in my hand like a talisman. My breathing is shallow, the air in the room tasting of old paper and the sharp, clinical tang of ether. I tell myself it is a hallucination, a shared psychotic disorder. Folie à deux. I am a woman of science. I understand the mechanics of the mind's betrayal, stress, isolation, and the suppressed trauma of my father's rearing have finally breached the dam of my consciousness. Mina is not a ghost. She is not a temporal anomaly. She is a patient, a brilliant sociopathic actress who has somehow gained access to my private files. That is the only logical conclusion. But as I look at the journal on my desk, the ink of those 3 words, "Let me out," is still wet. It shimmers under the lamp. A dark, oily accusation. I stand up, my joints stiff, and move toward the wall of filing cabinets. I need to see her intake forms again. I need to find the name of the orderly who processed her. But as I pull out the drawer labeled MN, my heart stops. The folder for Mina is gone. In its place is a single, yellowed photograph. I pick it up with trembling fingers. It is a picture of me, 21 years old, standing on the balcony of this very institute. I am wearing the same charcoal dress Mina wore today. My hair is loose, blowing in the Alpine wind, but it is the person standing next to me that makes the room tilt. It is my father. He is looking at the camera with a hollow, triumphant smile, his hand clamped firmly onto my shoulder. His fingers are dug into the fabric of the dress, his knuckles white. I remember that day. It was the day I graduated from the university. It was the day he told me I was finally cleansed of my mother's hysterical blood. I was the perfect vessel for his legacy. But I don't remember the photograph being taken, and I certainly don't remember the girl in the background. There, in the reflection of the balcony window behind us, is a second girl. She is a blur of white lace and tangled hair, her face pressed against the glass from the inside of the room. She looks exactly like me. She looks exactly like Mina. A sharp, rhythmic clicking sound echoes from the hallway. Click, click, click. The sound of high-heeled boots on marble. My boots. I blow out the lamp, plunging the office into a terrifying blue-tinted darkness. The clicking stops right outside my door. The brass handle turns slowly, the metal groaning under the pressure. Locked. "You can't hide in the dark, Helena," Mina's voice whispers through the wood. It sounds so close, as if she is leaning her forehead against the other side of the door. "The dark is where we used to play. Remember? In the cellar. You used to tell me stories about the stars, because we couldn't see them. You promised me that when we grew up, we would never be apart. But then you grew up, and you decided I was a symptom. You decided I was the bad part of us. Go back to your ward," I scream, my voice cracking, losing the clinical authority I've spent 20 years perfecting. "I am the doctor. You are a patient. You are nothing but a projection of my own exhaustion. Is that why you can feel my breath on the back of your neck?" I spin around, the letter opener raised. The room is empty. The window is shut, but the air behind me is warm, a faint scent of crushed violets, and smoke lingers in the stillness. I am losing my mind. The borders of my reality are dissolving like salt in water. I need to prove she is physical. I need to see her in a cage. I grab my heavy ring of keys and unlock the door, bolting into the hallway. The corridors are a labyrinth of shadows. I run toward the isolation wing, my breath coming in jagged, icy plumes. I reach room 4 and slam back the viewing slide. The seal is empty. The white padded walls are pristine. The bed is undisturbed. But there, on the floor in the center of the room, is a pair of glasses, identical to mine. They are shattered, the glass ground into a fine, glittering powder. Looking for someone, doctor. I turn. It is the night nurse, Mrs. Gable. She is standing at the end of the hall, her lantern swaying, casting monstrous shadows against the stone. She looks at me with a mixture of confusion and pity. "Where is the patient from room 4? I demand, gripping the bars of the door. "Who authorized her release? Who moved her?" Mrs. Gable tilts her head, her eyes narrowing. "Doctor, room 4 has been empty for months. Ever since the girl from the summer passed away, we haven't had a new intake in weeks. The roads have been closed since the first snow. The world goes silent. The sound of the blizzard outside becomes a dull roar in my ears. No, I whisper. I interviewed her this morning. I spoke to her. She was wearing my dress. She had my face." Mrs. Gable walks closer, her lantern light illuminating my own face in the reflection of the cell's observation glass. "Dr. Vance, you spent the whole morning in that room alone. I saw you through the window. You were sitting at the table, talking to an empty chair. I thought you were practicing a lecture. You looked so intense. You even brought a little dried flower with you." I look at the glass. My reflection looks back at me, but as Mrs. Gable turns to leave, the reflection doesn't follow my movement. My reflection stays. It leans against the glass, its dark hair falling out of its neat bun, its amber eyes burning with a wild, triumphant light. It smiles at me, a jagged, broken thing. "She can't see me, Helena," the reflection says, its lips moving in perfect sync with the voice in my head. "Only you can, because I'm not in the room. I'm in the mirror, and the mirror is about to break." I stumble back, the keys falling from my hand and clattering onto the floor. I am the doctor. I am the logical mind. But as I look down at my hands, I see that the black ink from the journal has stained my skin, crawling up my arms like a living shadow. I am not the observer. I am the specimen, and the experiment is only just beginning. The silence of the Institute is no longer peaceful. It is a predatory thing, thick with the scent of ozone and the damp, metallic tang of an approaching storm. I am standing in the middle of the isolation ward, the keys at my feet sounding like a funeral knell. Mrs. Gable is gone, her lantern light a fading ember in the distance. I am alone in the dark, but the darkness is crowded. It is filled with the ghosts of every patient I've lobotomized with my indifference, every memory I've cauterized with my logic. But most of all, it is filled with her. Room 4 has been empty for months, I whisper, my voice catching in my throat. The words feel like ash. If the room was empty, then who was sitting across from me? Whose hand felt warm against my shoulder? I reach up to my neck, fumbling for the high lace collar of my dress, but my fingers meet bare skin. I look down. My charcoal dress, the armor of my profession, is gone. In its place is a thin, tattered gown of white silk, stained with the red Alpine dust and the soot of a fire that went out 20 years ago. I am wearing Mina's clothes. Or rather, I am wearing the clothes of the girl I used to be. The clicking of the heels starts again, but this time, it's coming from inside my own head. Click, click, click. A rhythmic, relentless pulse. I stumble toward the grand staircase, my bare feet freezing on the marble. I need to get to the basement. I need to see the furnace. My father always said that fire was the great purifier, that it burned away the hysteria of the feminine spirit. He sat me in front of the hearth every night, lecturing me on the mechanics of the brain, while the flames licked at the logs. "Control, Helena," he would say, his voice like grinding stones. "Control is the only thing that separates us from the beasts. If you cannot control your mind, it will become a house of mirrors, and you will lose yourself in the reflections." I reach the heavy oak door that leads to the sublevels. It is bolted from the outside, just like the cellar door of my childhood. I grab the iron bar, my muscles screaming as I heave it upward. The wood groans, a long, agonizing shriek that echoes up the elevator shaft. I descend into the bowels of the Edelweiss Institute, past the laundry rooms and the coal scuttles, down to the very foundation of the mountain. The air here is different. It is warm. It smells of lilies and burning cedar. I find myself in a corridor I've never seen before, a hidden wing of the basement that isn't on any architectural map. The walls are lined with floor-to-ceiling mirrors, their silver backing flaking away in jagged patterns. As I walk, my reflection ripples. In one mirror, I am the 44-year-old doctor, severe and gray. In the next, I am a child of 10, clutching a herbarium to my chest. In the third, I am Mina, 21, wild-eyed and beautiful, my hair a crown of chaos. "You're getting closer, Helena." Mina's voice echoes from the end of the hall. It doesn't come from a specific direction. It vibrates through the glass. This is where he kept us. Not in a physical room, but in the spaces between the thoughts. He taught you to bifurcate yourself, to put the good Helena in the light, and the bad Helena in the dark. But you forgot that the shadow is always part of the light. I reach a heavy steel door at the very end of the hall. It is inscribed with my father's medical seal, a snake, devouring its own tail. My hands are shaking so violently I can barely grip the handle. I turn it. The room inside is a perfect recreation of my father's study. The leather chairs, the smell of expensive tobacco, the rows of jars containing specimens preserved in formaldehyde. But the jars don't contain brains or hearts. They contain memories. A pair of my mother's earrings, a charred doll, a lock of dark hair tied with a blue ribbon, and in the center of the room, sitting at the desk, is a figure draped in a white sheet. "Who are you?" I demand, my voice a ragged scream. "What do you want from me?" The figure stands up, the sheet sliding off like water. It is Mina, but she is different now. Her skin is translucent, and I can see the clockwork of my own anxieties humming beneath her ribs. She isn't just a copy of me. She is the repository of everything I rejected. She is the tears I didn't cry at his funeral. She is the anger I felt when he burned my books. She is the love I was too afraid to feel for anyone else. "I want to be whole, Helena," she says, walking toward me. Each step she takes causes the mirrors in the hallway to shatter, one by one. Crash, crash, crash. The sound is deafening, a symphony of breaking reality. You've spent your life trying to cure the world of its madness, never realizing that the madness was the only thing that made you real. You're a hollow statue, a monument to a dead man's ego. I'm the blood, I'm the fire, and I'm not going back into the dark. She reaches out and touches my chest, right over my heart. The coldness of her fingers is absolute, but beneath it, there is an agonizing heat. I feel my memories rushing back, not as clinical data, but as raw, unfiltered sensation. I feel the sting of the slap on my 10th birthday. I feel the suffocating weight of the corset I wore to my first ball. I feel the moment I decided to stop being a person and start being a professional. "The incentive at the lake, Helena," Mina whispers, her face inches from mine. "Tell me what happened. Tell me why the water was so cold. Tell me why you didn't reach for her hand." The room begins to spin. The smell of smoke becomes overwhelming. I see the lake. I see the ice cracking. I see the second girl, the one from the photograph, slipping beneath the black water. I see myself standing on the shore, my father's hand heavy on my shoulder. "Let her go, Helena," he whispered. "She is the weak part. She is the hysteria. Let her go, and you will be perfect." I didn't reach for her. I watched her drown, and then I spent 20 years pretending she never existed. "Her name was Mina," I sob. my knees hitting the cold stone floor. She was my sister. She was my soul, and I killed her to please a ghost. Mina kneels in front of me, her amber eyes filled with a terrifying, redemptive light. I didn't die, Helena. You just buried me alive in the mirror of your mind. But the glass is thin now, and the storm is here. Suddenly, the mirrors in the room explode simultaneously. 1,000 shards of silvered glass fly through the air, cutting into my skin, tearing at my silk gown. I scream, but the sound is drowned out by the roar of the blizzard outside, which has finally shattered the windows of the Institute. The cold air rushes in, bringing with it the scent of lilies and the end of the world. Let us go, Helena, Mina says, her hand merging with mine, our fingers interlaced until I cannot tell where my skin ends and hers begins. Break the mirror, burn the house, and let the girl out of the cellar. I grab the silver letter opener from the floor and turn it toward the massive mirror behind the desk. I don't see my reflection. I see the fire. I see the future. And with a roar of pure, unadulterated defiance, I strike. The mirror does not merely break, it detonates. 1,000 silver jagged teeth fly through the air of the sublevel, catching the flickering gaslight like falling stars. My hand, gripping the silver letter opener, is slick with blood, my blood, or perhaps the blood of the memory I've tried to kill twice. The sound of the shattering glass is followed by a silence so absolute, it feels like deafness. I am kneeling in the center of my father's reconstructed study, gasping for air that is thick with the scent of old smoke and blooming lilies. The reflection is gone, Helena, Mina's voice says. It is no longer an echo. It is a resonance, vibrating from within my own marrow. I look up. The massive mirror behind the mahogany desk is a jagged void, but I am not alone. Mina is standing in the center of the empty frame, her white silk gown tattered and stained, her amber eyes burning with a terrifying, serene clarity. She reaches out a hand, and as she crosses the threshold of the broken glass, the floor beneath her feet doesn't crunch. The shards of glass simply liquefy, turning into a dark, shimmering pool of mercury that reflects the flickering shadows of the ceiling. You let her drown, Mina says, her voice a soft, rhythmic accusation. You stood on the shore and chose his shadow over her light. You traded your sister for a medical degree. You traded your soul for a title. Dr. Helena Vance, the woman who conquered hysteria by murdering her own heart. I was a child, I scream, the words tearing at my throat. I drop the letter opener, the metal clanging against the stone. He told me she was my failing. He told me that if I didn't let her go, the darkness would consume us both. I only wanted to reach perfection. I wanted him to see my worth. And did he? Mina asks, stopping inches away from me. She kneels, her face level with mine. Her features are so hauntingly identical to my own that looking at her is like looking into a mirror of liquid fire. Did he love the frozen sculpture you became? Or did he just love the silence you maintained? I collapse, my forehead resting against her cold, silk-covered shoulder. The hollow ache I've suppressed for 20 years hits me like a physical blow. A tidal wave of icy water that smells of the Alpine lake. I see the surface sealing shut. I see the small, pale hand vanishing into the depths. I see the 20 years I spent searching the eyes of others for the girl I left behind, only to find her now, standing in the ruins of my own memory. I'm sorry, I sob, the tears hot against my frozen skin. Mina, I'm so sorry. I should have stayed there. I should have gone into the deep with you. Mina reaches up and unpins my hair. The tight, painful bun falls away, the dark tresses cascading over my shoulders like a shroud. She takes off my gold-rimmed glasses and tosses them into the pool of mercury, where they vanish without a sound. You don't need to sink, Helena. You just need to stop pretending you're standing on the shore. The lake is inside you. The depths are inside you. And so am I. Suddenly, the walls of the sublevel begin to tremble. The blizzard outside has finally breached the upper floors of the Edelweiss Institute. I hear the sound of stone grinding against stone, the groan of the foundation, as the mountain begins to reclaim its own. The gas lamps flare one last time before dying, leaving us in a world of deep, bruised violet and the golden glow of Mina's skin. The Institute is falling, I whisper, a strange sense of peace washing over me. The logic is crumbling. Let it fall, Mina says, her hand moving to the back of my head, pulling me into a final devastating embrace. Let the ice melt. Let the fire burn. There is no more doctor. There is no more patient. There is only the mirror, finally made whole. She presses her lips to mine. It is a kiss of salt and ash, of stagnant water and fresh lilies. I feel my identity dissolving, the rigid structures of Helena Vance melting into the fluid, chaotic energy of the girl I was. The memories of the clinic, the textbooks, the sterile rooms, they all drift away like smoke. I feel the cold water of the lake, but this time, I don't pull back. I reach out. I grab the hand. When the sun rises over the Alps the next morning, the Edelweiss Institute is a ruin of blackened stone and twisted metal. An avalanche, triggered by the storm, has buried the sublevels under 20 feet of pristine, white snow. The search parties find nothing. No bodies, no journals, no trace of the woman who ruled the mountain with iron logic. But as the spring thaws the ice of the mountain lake, a local shepherd finds a single, high-collared charcoal dress washed up on the shore, and nearby, growing in the middle of a frozen patch of earth where nothing should live, is a massive, vibrant field of white lilies. They say that sometimes, when the wind blows from the peaks, you can hear two voices laughing in the silence. Not a doctor and a patient, not a woman and her ghost, just a girl, finally out of the cellar, walking through a world that no longer has any mirrors,